Warning, if you haven't watched the first part, you might be a little bit lost, so why not go check that out and then come back? Otherwise, if you did, sit back and enjoy the video. Death is a constant in every universe, and Necron is death. Star Sapphire fears that they destined this universe to the same fate. Hal assumed that the Last Light protocol was only meant for users of the emotional spectrum, and Necron is pure entropy. Spock theorizes that entropy is that heart and intrinsic part of every universe, and therefore a manifestation of Necron would exist in every possible universe, including their own. Carol further adds that while that's true, Necron keeps his form from traveling from universe to universe. Kirk questions how they beat him the first time. Hal said that they had the White Lantern, Kyle Rayner, but Necron killed him first. When it rains, it pours, as he also mentioned that the power batteries were destroyed, so they don't have a way to recharge their battery, unless McCoy manages to heal St. Walker to keep their rings charged. Kirk says that Hal came to the right ship, as he and his crew are experiencing the no-win situations. On Romulus, we see DC is confronted by Larfleeze, who is not keen on sharing the power of Averis. DC tells his constructs to attack Larfleeze, but they just stand there, as he declares that no orange construct exists that doesn't listen to him. Yet, Larfleeze seems interested by his constant talk about expansion and taking back territory from the Federation. Back on the Enterprise, they receive a distress call from Starbase 12, where they're being attacked by Atrocitus and Glaucon. Sinestro and Chang come in and attack Atrocitus. While fighting, Hal and the Enterprise come in, and now we have a full-blown space fight going on. A side note, how sick would this be in live action or animated form to see Federation ships, Klingon ships, and Lanterns in an all-out dogfight? I seriously think that the comic book movies in general are missed out on a large part of the science fiction audience, because man, seems like this would easily draw people in. Sinestro goes nuts and instills their worst fears on the entire crew of the Enterprise, incapacitating them. He tries to take over the ship, but Hal stops him and creates a massive construct of the Enterprise. Back on the dead planet Vulcan. Rise. In the first video, I went over some of the basics of the Green Lantern Corps and the main cast of the Star Trek universe, including some of its villains and heroes. As we continue with the story, we'll also be looking at the main villains from the DC universe, and primarily we're dealing with Atrocitus from the Red Lantern Corps, Larfleeze from the Orange Lantern Corps, and of course Sinestro from the Yellow Lantern Corps. Each of these honestly deserve their own video, but we can take a look at them. Let's start with Sinestro, one of the oldest and most well-known villains, not only for Green Lantern, but for DC Comics in general. Sinestro. Thal Sinestro, a proud Corridorian, pursued power in all forms to maintain order. He founded a corps of terrorists and became the Lord of Fear. He is one of the most powerful beings in existence. The Sinestro took the Green Lantern ring from the wounded Green Lantern he encountered while exploring an ancient city. He became one of the most effective agents of the Green Lantern Corps, ruling his sector as a dictator to maintain peace. Sinestro mentored Green Lantern Hal Jordan, but was eventually banished to the antimatter universe of Cord for his dictatorial rule. The Cordians used the power of the universal fear entity to create their own power rings, imbued with yellow energy, the only vulnerability of the Green Lantern rings. With his yellow ring, Sinestro warred with the Green Lanterns and formed the Sinestro Corps. Atrocitus. Long ago, on the planet Ryu, an alien named Altros lived with his wife and children. Policed by the Guardians of the Universe's Manhunter androids, the people lived in peace until the Manhunters malfunctioned and razed the planet. Altros' family was killed, leaving him alone in his rage. After destroying many Manhunters with his bare hands, Atros was found by Quill, Roxian, Olfram, and Dal, beings banished from their home world and considered demons. Atros fell in with them, and the group became known as the Five Inversions, using blood magic to battle the Guardians of the Universe for centuries. Eventually, the Guardians' new servants, the Green Lanterns, bested the Five Inversions. Atros killed his teammates and used their blood to build the Red Lantern power battery, empowered by his own rage. He took the name Atrocitus and created his own Red Lantern Corps. Larfleeze, also known as Agent Orange, is the sole wielder of the Orange Light of Avarice, the most self-destructive color of the universe's emotional spectrum. It precludes sharing, and those it illuminates will light for what they want until only one remains. Its power infects the mind and effectively owns its possessor. The embodiment of avarice is Ophidian, who lives inside the battery and causes Larfleeze to hunger voraciously for everything he sees. Over billions of years, Agent Orange has indiscriminately turned his homeworld into a vast planetary hoard of junk, treasure, and corpses. He's the only Orange Lantern in the universe, but this incalculable, unsnared power allows him to store the souls of every creature he has killed and resurrect them as semi-sentient light constructs. To protect his most prized possession, the immensely long-lived Larfleeze has absorbed his Orange Lantern and become a living power battery. His unique oath reflects his philosophy. What's mine is mine, and mine and mine, and mine and mine, and mine, not yours. These three are vicious, and on their own are a menace to the Green Lantern Corps, but together they are near unbeatable. Good thing they seldom work with one another and tend to be confrontational between themselves, as we saw earlier when Sinestro, along with the Klingon Chang, attacked Atrocitus before being interrupted by Hal. But these aren't the only Green Lantern villains in the series. But before we get to that, let's get back to the story. The fierce space battle continues between the three groups of lanterns as Uhura comes back to the Enterprise and sees that the crew is knocked out. Hal says, "Sinestro, the ugly guy in yellow out there, fear is his thing. He uses it to knock out your crew." She responds back, "I know, I can sense it, and I can sense that this new power I have is the opposite of fear." As she revives the crew, things kick back into high gear. As the Enterprise crew are now back in play, the rest of the Lanterns focus on Sinestro and the others. Sinestro proves to be too much of a challenge until we get some unexpected help as three more Lanterns join the fight. John Stewart, Guy Gardner, and Kilowog arrive to save Jordan and the others. Things get more hectic. Back on the Enterprise, the sensors pick up that Vulcan has come back to life, and the Enterprise hails Hal Jordan, letting him know that they need to go, but not without taking Sinestro with them in custody. Back on board, KIRK updates Hal, letting him know that Vulcan is Spock's homeworld and that they are not alone in their struggle against Necron. Scotty interrupts and introduces a new device based on the Lantern's ring. Essentially, a phaser on his ring, as he puts it. It seems to be able to also create a force field around the person wearing it. Sulu becomes the first test pilot as a ring, as a white-bluish light surrounds Sulu. With some reinforcements, they beam to Vulcan and come face to face with Necron. Thanks for getting this far into the video, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing, why not give this video a thumbs up? It really helps to get this video out to more people like you. And as you guys may have seen on many of my community and Instagram posts, I'm an avid figure collector. I want to share my go-to spot for the latest and greatest figures. Head over to RamFam Collectibles. RamFam Collectibles is a veteran-owned business putting the customer experience first with a variety of in-stock and pre-ordering options, as well as fast and reliable shipping for every single order. They care because they're collectors too. And for 5% off your first order, use the promo code RAMFAM5. But for now, let's get back to the video. Before we finish the story of the Spectrum War, we have one more thing to go over, and I think I saved the best, well, maybe the creepiest for last. Necron. Necron is an ancient embodiment of darkness, created by the universe itself to oppose life. He rules over all the limbo-like Dead Zone, which holds souls awaiting judgment. Although he is trapped there himself, when the renegade Owen Krona was banished by the Guardians of Oa, he ended up in Necron's realm, creating a rift leading to the mortal universe. Necron was then able to see into Earth's reality and became obsessed with destroying it. During the Blackest Night event, Necron released Black Lantern power rings into the universe. These rings sought out heroes and villains who were dead or had returned from death and transformed them into gruesome Black Lanterns. Heroes suddenly found themselves battling friends, enemies, and lovers who had returned from the grave to make war on the living. Using the dark energies released by the Black Lantern's slaughter, Necron's henchman Black Hand summoned his master into the Earth's universe. Necron then tried to destroy the entity, the embodiment of all life, but was defeated when Hal Jordan bonded with the entity to become a White Lantern. It was Necron's attack that drove the Guardians to activate the Last Light Protocol, which at heart is obviously a story mechanism to bring the two different sets of characters together. But I do find it pretty cool. A last-ditch plan by the Guardians in a worst-case scenario. Something that doesn't come up too often in comics. A way to preserve the core in case the universe is destroyed. But it's unfortunate that it's something that won't be used in other comics, or in DC in general, because it could be a way for other versions of the Lanterns to coexist within the main universe. Kind of like now how we have Miles Morales and Peter Parker existing in the same Earth. We could have different Sinestros or Hals. Maybe even getting the Injustice version of the characters into the main DCU. The story possibilities are endless. And with that said, let's finish our adventure with the Lanterns and the Enterprise crew. On Vulcan, Necron's power is reviving the corpses of Spock's people. As the Lanterns begin to fend off the zombie horde, Spock's parents have a heart-to-heart with their son, but he knows not to trust them. Fighting continues as they all do their best against the forces of Necron, but the odds become too much. St. Walker comes back to inject some hope to help even the odds. KIRK tells the Enterprise to focus on Necron. They fire their photons directly at him. Despite the direct hit, Necron seems unfazed. We get some moments here as Spock is comforted by Jon Stewart over his parents being used against him. Sinestro comes back to attack Necron. Despite all this, things seem hopeless. Yet St. Walker reiterates that the White Lantern is necessary in order to defeat Necron. But the White Lantern ring requires someone who has a mastery of all emotions. Just then, KIRK orders his crew to give the rings to Spock. He puts them on, attracting all the other rings to him, including those of the other Corps. But it seems they're missing a Green Lantern ring. Hal and the others combine their light with Spock, completing the emotional spectrum, bringing back the entity of life, who then proceeds to wipe out Necron. Everyone is transported back to the Enterprise as we see Vulcan once again die. With the defeat of Necron, some of the Lanterns have decided to remain with the Enterprise on their mission, while others have chosen to explore a universe much different than their own. The bodies of Chang, Decius, and Glokon are floating in space dead as they did not survive when their rings went to Spock. Atrocitus, Larfleeze, and Sinestro have disappeared. Scotty creates more of his synthetic rings to arm the crew, prepared for any situation that may come. As KIRK and the Enterprise readies to leave, Hal Jordan leads the way. My name is Hal Jordan. I am the Green Lantern assigned to Space Sector 2814. Here, in this new reality, my mission continues. I am sworn to protect strange worlds, new life, new civilizations, to boldly go, by Lantern's light, where no one has gone before. And so ends the epic crossover between the Enterprise and the Lantern Corps. I had a lot of fun working on this. I really enjoyed the story. Is it perfect? No. The reality is there's so many characters that not everyone's going to get a spotlight, but I do think they really managed to put together a well thought out story that's not just a throwaway. The ending was great and left it open for anything really at this point. In fact, there is a sequel titled Stranger's Worlds, which I purposely stopped myself from reading to better focus on telling you guys an unbiased viewpoint and coverage of this crossover. So usually these crossovers aren't canon in either franchise, but you know, considering how DC runs the multiverse and the existence of alternate timelines in the Star Trek universe, I have to imagine that this has to be canon in some way. This would be perfect for an animated adaptation, much like the TMNT Batman movie we got a few years back. Paramount owns Star Trek and TMNT, so I do think it's a possibility. Might even get some of the original actors, as Chris Pine has worked with DC a couple times, and Zachary Quinto has worked on the last Superman animated film, so it would be cool to see. Let me know what you think of the series in the comments below. I have a few other crossovers in mind that I plan on working on in the future, so if you like this one, definitely comment and like the video so we can get it out to more viewers like you. That being said, as always, take care and have an awesome day. For more DC stories and other fun videos like this, click on this playlist right here.
Space, the final frontier.
These are the voyages of the starship
Enterprise. Its continuing mission
to explore strange new worlds,
to seek out new life
and new civilizations,
to boldly go where no one has gone before.